Hello, this is Allie with The Perception Traders, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind lately for a while. And yeah, it's something that I think needs to be talked about in a little bit different way than it's been talked about, because it's been talked about, but I feel like it's been talked about weird, and we need to just kind of clear this slate and find some logic. So what do I want to talk about? So basically what I want to talk about is the biggest mistake I see people make when they try to transition to a healthy diet. Okay, and I've been a nutritionist now for like 8 years, and I can tell you that pretty much every single person I've ever worked with has done this, and it's a huge thing in our society, and it needs to be addressed. And I really wanted to make this video because I've literally seen it so many times and made this speech so many times that I wanted to make this video to give people somewhere to go to get this information. So, what is the number one mistake that most people make when they switch to a healthy diet? The number one mistake that most people make when they switch to a healthy diet is they undereat. Okay. And now, I want to preface this video by saying that I am not in any way a proponent of stuffing yourself. I am not in any way a proponent of there's a minimum calorie requirement that everyone's got to eat, or carbing up, or blah, blah, blah. All that stuff that's on the internet right now. I fully believe that every single body is different. Everyone has different activity levels. Everyone has different metabolic rates. Everyone has, you know, different states of health, and these all affect how many calories you need to be eating to find a healthy weight. However, when you are switching from a less optimal diet to a whole foods diet, so when you're switching from, say, like the standard American diet or the standard Canadian diet, or just a Western kind of style diet with lots of processed foods, lots of maybe like really a lot of meat or really a lot of dairy, just things like that, and you're switching to a healthier diet, what most people do is they equate eating healthier with dieting. And at this point, dieting usually means eating less, right? So what we see is people go from eating a standard American diet where they're eating like 3 huge meals a day and a couple of snacks and dessert, to eating healthy food, and they're having these tiny little squirrely portions of salad and like a few pieces of fruit and then like a tiny little smoothie and maybe like a bowl of soup. And then they do that for a couple of days, and then they wonder why they can't stick to eating healthy. And they wonder why they go back to binging on the foods that they were eating before. They wonder why eating healthy is so hard. Well, it's like because you're starving. And this is something that I really want to talk about, because it's not that you're a weak-willed person when you can't stick to a whole foods diet. It's not that that there's something wrong with you. You first need to understand that processed foods are addicting, okay? And because they are so flavorful, they are so high in fat, and they are so high in sugar, and so high in salt, that they are literally designed to make you want to eat large quantities of them, okay? And so when you start to cut those foods out of your diet, you're going to crave them, and that's normal, and that's to be expected. It's just because those foods are designed to be craveable, right? Like when they say, I bet you can't eat just one. Well, yeah, they've engineered the foods to be that way on purpose, because the food industry is an industry. It's a bottom line thing. Processed food companies need you to keep buying them and eating more than you really need to be eating in order to sustain their profits, right? They're not interested in you eating like one small bag of chips. They're interested in you eating a whole bag of chips every single day, because that's more money for them. And so you first need to understand that those foods are designed to be that way, okay? So then when you switch to a healthy diet, not only are you, you're already cutting out something that has an emotional and a mental and a physical trigger for you, okay? And so then when you try to switch to a healthy diet, and not only do you cut out these kind of trigger foods and these foods that are very addicting, you then cut your portion, and you need to understand that your body hates starvation. Your body is literally deathly afraid of starving. From all those years of us wandering in the jungle and our bodies learning how to cope with starvation, our bodies react very, very negatively to starvation. And any kind of cut in your caloric intake, at first, your body is going to perceive as an emergency. It's going to perceive it as a starvation thing. And your body is very wise and your brain is very wise and is set up to save you from starvation through making you crave foods that are high in fat and high in sugar, because those are high calorie foods. Your body is designed to reduce your metabolism, your metabolic rate by burning off excess muscle tissue and slowing down functions that are not needed for your survival, right? Your body is set up to fight starvation. So it's no wonder that when you switch from a standard American diet to a healthy diet that's got less calories, is you're absolutely going to binge. You're absolutely going to go back to the foods you were eating before, because you've got a double whammy of addiction to food and your body not wanting to starve set up against you, okay? And I think that most people need to be a little bit more honest with themselves when they're switching to a healthy diet. I get it. Most people are doing it because they want to lose weight. And we really believe that if I eat less, I'm going to lose weight. And now that I'm eating healthy, that means that I also need to eat less so that I can lose weight. And I want to tell you that it will never work. Doing it that way will never ever work. It never has worked. It's never going to work. It works for 0 people. Don't do it. Okay? So don't do it. And I know that it's going to be your thing that you want to do. Okay? So like I said, you're going to go from eating 3 full meals a day plus 2 snacks and a dessert to eating like 3 little tiny baby meals and 2 little snacks of healthy food. And just don't do it. It doesn't work. Okay? Biologically it doesn't work. Mentally it doesn't work. So what does work? What do I want you to do? So when you are switching to a whole foods diet, first things first is that you have to remember that there has been damage done to your diet, okay? And to your body. There's been damage done to your body. When you're eating a lot of processed foods, when you've been eating foods that are nutrient depleted and that are processed and that are not ideal for your body has to heal. Okay, so first things first is remembering that the foods that you're eating now, so these healthy foods, the plant-based foods, the fresh live foods, the whole foods, those things are going to be healing your body. And your body is always going to prioritize healing over weight loss because it has to, okay? Weight loss is a big deal for the body. And your liver and your pancreas and your digestive system and your heart and your lungs and your kidneys all need to be working at a specific level in order for weight loss to be safe for your body. So when you start to eat whole foods, you don't actually want to have this huge drop in weight because that's a sign that things are not going along healthfully. You actually want to have a slow release of weight because you want your body to be healing first, and you want your body to be releasing like actual fat rather than the water that's stored with the carbohydrates. So when you starve yourself, your body's carbohydrate stores are going to be tapped into. The carbohydrates that are stored in your skeletal muscles are going to be tapped into for energy, of course, right? Because you're not taking in as much energy as you used to be. And for every gram of carbohydrate you store in your muscle tissue, you store 3 grams of water. So that's why you see that big drop in weight when you reduce your calories, because really what you're doing is you're tapping into your carbohydrate stores, and the water that was stored along with those carbohydrates, as it gets burned, that water gets released also. So it's not actual weight that you're losing, it's not fat you're losing, it's water weight, and that's the whole water weight thing. So what you want to be doing when you switch to a whole foods diet is you want to switch to eating the same amount of calories as you were eating on your processed food diet in your healthy food diet. So anytime you make a switch, you don't want to reduce your calories. You actually want to eat maybe the same or even a little bit more. And the other thing that you need to realize is that whole foods and unprocessed foods are full of water and are full of fiber. Both of these things are very important for the body, but they do not provide calories. So when we look at processed foods, you can think of processed foods as like concentrated calorie sources. So like a donut. You can eat 1 donut, or you can eat like 4 oranges for the same caloric load. So think of that, right? Most people, when they switch to a whole foods diet or a healthy diet, they eat a similar volume of food to what they were eating on their processed food diet, thinking that they're getting the same amount of calories when really they're getting far less, because whole foods, like I say, are packed with water and packed with fiber. So now I hope that you can start to see how this cycle can happen, where you switch to a whole foods diet, you either intentionally or unintentionally eat far fewer calories than you used to be eating. This sets your brain up for that I'm afraid, I'm in starvation, this isn't good thing, which sends you back to the old foods, and you ping pong between these two things over and over and over again. And so what I want you to just make a deal with yourself about is that next time you switch to a healthy diet, when you start to eat healthfully, you're going to eat enough calories. And this may even require that you track your calories for a little bit. Make sure you're getting 2,000 calories or 2,500 or whatever you were getting before. And don't worry so much about the weight loss, okay? Because a person who eats a healthful diet, a person who eats real foods over the long term will find a healthy weight. There's no exception to this rule, okay? And I want you to know that you're not the exception. When you eat a whole foods diet over the long term, you will find a healthy weight. It may not happen today, it may not happen in a month, but it will happen. So your goal, your real goal, is to get off of the foods that aren't foods, to get off of the processed foods, to get away from eating the stuff that doesn't nourish your health and that leads to excess weight and leads to illness and all of these things, okay? So if that is your real goal, you need to do whatever it takes to get you to stick to your whole foods diet. So you're already going to be battling with the addiction to the processed foods, okay? So don't add caloric restriction on top of that. You don't need to do that. So what I'm saying is, for the first while you're switching to a whole foods diet, you need to eat as much as you want and maybe even more, to make sure that you don't go back to the old foods, because really that is the goal. And you will make yourself feel so much less crazy and feel so much less worse in your body if you give yourself permission to eat as much as you need to eat so that you're not craving that old stuff. And so the rule is, if you're still having cravings for that old, like for chips and pop and candy and whatever, you might need to up your whole foods caloric intake. Or, and of course, like I say, I've discussed this in many videos, watch my video on binge eating. I'll put a link below, because there's definitely always a mental and an emotional side to it. But on the physical side, okay, make sure you're eating enough. Don't restrict your calories when you go on a whole foods diet. When you're first starting on a whole food diet, don't restrict your calories. And so what I'm saying is, when you get to a point where you don't crave the old foods anymore, like you literally don't ever want cake ever again, you literally never look at chips anymore, then you can start to play with your caloric intake. And then you can start to do things that maybe will help you lose weight or whatever. But until you get to that point, eat as much as you need to eat, okay? And I'm saying this because I've seen it so many times that people go from eating like 2,500 calories to 1,200 calories of whole foods, so 2,500 calories of junk food to 1,200 calories of whole foods, and wonder why they can never stick to it. Well, it's never going to work, okay? You need to eat enough. So eat as much as you were eating on your processed food diet or your standard American diet or your old diet in whole foods, and work from there, okay? And allow the weight loss to happen as it's going to happen, because your body needs to heal first. All right, so that's my take on that. Don't undereat. Don't stuff yourself, but don't undereat. It doesn't work. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.